Hello everyone. This video introduces the VSB Web Console. Using this console, application developers are able to develop, deploy, and monitor IoT applications. So let me explain you how to install the VSB Web Console. As a first step, you have to access our Git repository, the website of our Git repository. Then we have created a wiki page that you can find information about the requirements, so the software that you need to have installed in order to run our console. Then we have some information about the features of the platform, etc. There are two ways to download and use our console. The first way is to just download a web archive application where you can just deploy this WAR file to your server, like an Apache Tomcat server. And the second way is just to use directly our source code. For instance, you can just clone our Git repository and then develop the application using Maven. For this video, I'm gonna just download the WAR file and then deploy it to my Tomcat server. So let me download this file. And then meanwhile, I could just test if my Tomcat server is up and running. So I'm gonna access my Tomcat server. As you can see, I can access through my port localhost and the port number. And my Tomcat server is up and running, so I can just log in, give my credentials, and now I'm able to check all the applications that are running. So my VSB Web Console is downloaded already. Okay, so what can I do now is to deploy this. So I'm gonna provide the information through this form. Okay, so I'm gonna find my WAR file, it is here, and now I can deploy it. After I have deployed this WAR file, I can open my VSB Web Console. So that's it. Here is the Web Console. So in the Web Console there are two tabs. There is a Dashboard tab and the Add Thing tab. Using this console, you are able to create use cases. To create use cases, you have first of all to register your devices, your things or services. In the Dashboard tab, you can check the registered services, and in the Add Thing tab, you can add a new thing or device. So that's it. It's really simple. Just add your things or services, and then you are able to create a use case. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna add some sample things and services. So as a first step, I could define one service. So let me define a service. So I will define an estimator service that represents a service that runs by employing the REST protocol. Then I have to provide the host address of that particular service. This service is just a mock service running on my computer. So I'll just define the IP of my computer. Okay, now I will provide the port number. And since this service, in order to be able to connect it with other services or things, I have to somehow to provide the description of its data, like operations, input and output data, etc. For this reason, we have created an interface description language where we call it GDL. This is created using a meta model, using the Eclipse meta models. So here, through a form in the VSB Web Console, I can provide in the estimation service an operation that accepts some temperature data. So I have the name of the operation. Then I describe the type of this interaction, which is one way, and I have to describe some verbs related to the REST protocol, like the POST, so it receives just some notifications. And also I have to provide some information about the input data, the data that is going to accept. So it's just a simple data that is a type of string. No, it's type of double, sorry. Yes, so that's it. I have provided all the information. Now I'm able to just register this service. So the service is registered. I go in the home tab, in the dashboard. We can check this service. So what I'll do now, I will now add a device. It's a temperature device. It's running on the Raspberry Pi. It's just an IoT sensor, so it's a device. It employs the COPE protocol in order to push notifications. And here I will provide the address of my Raspberry Pi. So this IoT sensor, this Raspberry Pi, it just has a sensor and temperature sensor that is running there. So I will provide the address of my Raspberry Pi here. So here is the address. And then I must define the port number. Similarly, we have again to define the GDL interface, the generic interface description language file. So here again, I add the operation. What is this operation? We must define an operation that just push some temperature data. So it's going to be something really simple, just for this example. So it's an operation name temperature. The quality of service is unreliable since we use COPE. So COPE runs over UDP, so it's an unreliable communication. Then I provide some information again about the COPE protocol, some things related to that. And finally, I'm able to again add some sample data, what kind of data is going to accept. And that's it. I define the data. And now I'm ready to register this thing as well. Now, in the dashboard, we can check both services. Then at each tab, device, temperature, or service estimator, we are able to check the GDL interfaces. So the interfaces that we have generated is in an XML format. So here you can see all the information we have defined for these two services and things. So here we can check, for example, for the estimator service. So yeah, this interface is going to be used in order to interconnect these two devices if necessary. So yeah, that's it. We have registered our services and things. And now we are able to create a use case. Actually, we're going just to create a simple IoT application that will interconnect the temperature sensor to the estimator. So you're going to provide some information from the temperature sensor to the estimator. So here's just a simple name, demo use case. Just the name of the use case. So yeah, it's very simple. And we can start now creating. What we can do is just to drag and drop in this box here the services and things that we want to interconnect. So here what I'm gonna say is that I want to interconnect the temperature sensor that runs in the Raspberry Pi and push the notifications to the estimator service. Click the button connect. However, here there is an issue. The estimator service that accepts the temperature sensor employs the REST protocol, and the temperature sensor that runs on the Raspberry Pi employs the COPE protocol. In order to be able to interconnect these two different services and things, we must generate an artifact, an interoperability artifact, which is called binding component. Such an interoperability artifact is developed by us. This approach is developed by us, and it provides an automatically generation, first of all, based on the GDAL files that we have created, and converts primitives and data from the temperature sensor to the estimator sensor. And that's it. Now we are able to interconnect these two services and things. Before we actually run this interoperability artifact and we see that it's working, we have to run these mock services, this estimation service, this mock estimation service. I have to access my computers, connect to the Wi-Fi and access my computers, run the services, because we consider that these can be some legacy services. So we can just, I will just log in to run them. In the Raspberry Pi the same. So I'm sure that the two different endpoints are up and running. So here I just access the Raspberry Pi. You see SSH Pi at the IP address. And in this way, I will be able to just start these services. So here is what I'm doing. First of all, I start the estimation service, and then I start the temperature device, which is, as I told you before, it's a device that runs on the Raspberry Pi. So yeah, let's see now. Just a minute. So okay, so everything are fine. The service and the thing are up and running. So now what remains to do is just to start, to apply this interconnection that I did, and that's it. We have our monitor, so we can monitor the use case. We see that the temperature is running, the estimator service is running, and the binding component as well. And there are also some buttons that we could start and stop the binding component. So you see here, everything are fine and running. So in the next video, I'm gonna show you the complete scenario that I will have added all the services and things. Thank you.